Hi everybody! So today I'm going to be playing around with some more of the Arteza Premium watercolors. These were sent to me by Arteza to review, and again, I'm not using them in a professional way. I am just a crafter, a hobby stamper, and so I'm going to be using them in the way that I think that most of my viewers would be using them, which is in coloring stamped images. So I already had done a video the other day, and I wanted to show you guys. I had squirted out some of the paints onto a palette, and you can see that they dry and they get kind of crusty. So I don't know if this is because it's a new palette. You can rehydrate them and use them again. Just wanted to show you guys that. But this was the stamped image I had colored in before using 3 different kinds of watercolors. And this first one was using Peerless watercolors, which you can see is very bright, vibrant, and translucent. It's okay. It's not bad. This one was using the Gansai Tambai, and what I noticed about these paints is that they're very creamy and they're very pastel. So as it dried back, but you can see that the colors are very pastel and creamy looking in color. So they're not as bright and vibrant. And then here are the Arteza ones, which are definitely my favorite. I had more control over these. The colors are bright. They have a mid-tone, like some of the colors are transparent and some of them are a little more opaque. So I think it gives the paints a little more dimension. But I wanted to try it out again today. So I stamped out this image, which is a Hero Arts flower image. And I stamped it out using VersaFine Clair ink. And 3 of the images I heat embossed. 1 of them I did not. I have a cup of water, some paper towels, some paint brushes, and a water brush on hand to paint with. And I just want to see how the colors blend today, how they react to water with blooming. And I am using the Arteza watercolor paper, which I am finding to be fabulous. The Arteza watercolor paper, you get 14 sheets. It's called Expert watercolor paper. It's super heavy. It's 140 pounds, and it's 9 by 12 inches. So I've just cut this down into little card size panels of 5 1/4 by 4. And for today's experiment, I'm going to use these colors. So what I've done is just taken a little piece of that scrap watercolor paper, and you can see I've dabbed some of the inks on there. So the colors that I have are Scarlet Red, Neon Pink, which is very bright, Rose, Naples Yellow, Gamboge, which is like a sunflower yellow or a golden yellow, Sage Green, Sap Green, Ice Blue, and Sky Blue. So those are the colors we'll be using today. And I really should swatch these out because the colors on the box and the colors on the stickers do not necessarily represent the colors that come out of the tube. So we'll see how they look when we use them to paint today. So here's the first image. This one is not a heat embossed one. I do have the other ones which are heat embossed. I did have the others. Oh, there we go. I picked them up with the cards. Okay, so we have 4 of them printed out that we're just going to paint, and then they are cut down to 5 1/4 by 4 so that I can mount them to a card. All right, so I think the first one I'll do, and this one is not heat embossed because it didn't stamp completely over here, which I'm okay with. I'm not totally hating that. I think I'm just going to use a regular paintbrush on this one. And I think I'm going to make this one a pretty light one, which is the yellow. And I want to see how the yellows mix. So I'm going to put a little water down in the center here. And because we use that VersaFine ink, it should be all dry and waterproof now. I do like this paper. This paper is very thick, very nice watercolor paper. So I'm just laying water down on these center of the flower here and kind of pulling it out just to moisten that paper a little bit. I'm going to start with the lighter yellow, which is the Naples yellow, very pastel yellow. And I'll make sure that you guys can see what I'm doing here. I hope the glare isn't bad there. And I like these paints. I said this the other day when I was using them because I feel like there's a little more control with them. They're not like a regular watercolor ink that I've used before where the inks are totally transparent and just kind of want to go everywhere, where they're really loose. These inks, I feel, are these paints, I feel like they're very similar to an acrylic paint in that you have a little bit more control over it. Now, the more you water it down, the more it's going to spread out, which is fine. All I'm doing is just putting a base layer of color down here. Again, we don't have to be artists to use these. These are Arteza's, their whole motto is that they want to make artist quality at an affordable price. So, just for us stampers or hobbyists that are just, just doing scrapbook pages or making cards or just doing art around our house. That's what they're designed for. And the products that I have already used with Arteza, I have their heat transfer vinyl. I have their color pencils, their not water brushes, the aqua brushes, watercolor brushes, there we go. Markers, watercolor brush markers. And I've had tremendous success with all of them and using them and not spending a ton of money. I mean, if you go and look online at some of the other quality that's out there. Now, if I were a professional card maker and I am, being sponsored by all of these companies, then, I can see going out and spending a lot of money on professional quality, artist grade stuff. But this is very good quality, premium product at a very good price. So that's what I like. It's not cheap student grade quality, that's for sure. It's really good quality. And I compared the color pencils to Prismacolor pencils, and I think they were just as nice. They blended well with Gamsol. The colors were nice and bright. You get a nice selection. And I seem to find the same things with these paints. You get a huge selection, and you're really not spending too much more than you would for a basic set, and you're getting a wider variety. Don't forget, Arteza is sponsoring our giveaway. We hit 7,000 subscribers. So all you have to do is be a subscriber. You get an extra entry if you join us over on our Facebook page, which is Nancy Stamps 15 on Facebook and Nancy Stamps 15 on Instagram. You get extra entries there, but they are going to send anyone in the U.S. or the U.K., your own set of premium watercolors. I believe it's the 24 set. All right, so now I've just laid down this layer of Naples yellow. Now I'm going to go in with the Gamboge, which is one of my favorite colors, which is like the sunshine yellow. And you can see there, it's got a little bit of orange yellow mixed to it. And I'm just going to put that in the middle and pull that color out. I want to see how these blend. I love that color. It's so pretty. And anywhere I feel it needs to be a little darker, under the petals, where there's going to be a little shadow, I'm putting some more of that darker yellow. What's great about stamps is the artist who designs the stamps usually already marks on the image where there is shadowing or where they feel there should be shadowing in their image that they've drawn out here. And so all you have to do is just follow that. Just put your paint in those areas. I really do like how creamy these paints are. I really think it makes a difference in how you feel about controlling it. I'm not a loose watercolor. I like to be able to control. I don't like this, just kind of smooshing the paint everywhere and letting it do its thing. I'm not that kind of person. I know there's some of you out there that are like that, and we're going to try that next. But this is more of a controlled method of painting where I am just very much like an acrylic paint, where I'm just picking that color up and putting it where I think it should go, and then I'm controlling where it goes. And this paint is doing a fabulous job at following the direction I want it to go in. And it reactivates nicely once you put the water on there and want to move that along. It's going no problem. All right, I think I'm done with the yellows here. I think that looks very pretty with the yellow. What do you guys think? Okay, so we're going to set that one aside and give that a second to dry. The next one I think we're going to be a little more messy with. Now this one I've heat embossed with Ranger Clear Heat Embossing Powder. So I stamped it out. I guess the camera's not going to pick up on it, but it has, there we go. You can see the clear embossing powder has been heated on there. This one I'm going to do a little different method. I'm going to take a little bit wider brush and I'm going to wet the whole flower. And we're going to do a little bit more of the flowing watercolory paint that a lot of people like to do, which is just a wet on wet method, which is just letting this pigment, this paint, do whatever it wants to do. So this flower is completely wet, and we're going to go in with some of this. It's called Rose, which is a really deep, almost like a purple pink color, deep fuchsia color. And I'm going to see how that goes. Oh, that's so beautiful. And again, I'm just going to go in and put a layer of this down. Just kind of letting that color go where it wants to go. Very free form. My brush is very wet, and I'm just loading that color on and just dropping it down. And because we've heat embossed this, I don't really have to worry too much about that color sliding out, because most of the border area, now there is a couple spots like right there where it's not closed off, but most of this is closed off, so that watercolor will stay in the areas that are wet within the flower petals here. So this is the opposite end of the spectrum. If you like that loosey, watercolory, free-flowing look, you just put a lot of water down on your paper. You put a lot of water on your brush. And when you pick up that pigment, it will flow for you. And I'm just putting a base layer down. And again, this color is called Rose. Very pretty, deep fuchsia color. Now once we have that base color down, if you feel that there's too much color anywhere, all you're going to do is grab your wet brush and re-moisten that area and move it around. If you feel like there's not enough color in an area, you're going to pick some up with your brush and just lay that color down. And these colors do dry back a little bit, as all watercolors do, but it's really not a whole bunch. The intensity of that color stays. I noticed that when the other ones dried. If you really want to know about painting, coloring, things like that, I like to watch videos from Sandy Allnuck. She does a lot with watercoloring and Copic coloring. She does a great job with Copic coloring. She does classes as well, but her paintings are just amazing. Alright, that's the one called Rose. And I will hold that up. Hold on. Just see a spot here which is a little too harsh. I just want to move that around. Colors reactivate very easily with the water. I think that's important because I find with using the markers, any of those markers, the so-called watercolor markers, once they are down on the paper, it's very difficult to reactivate them. This is the opposite. Once this is down and you put water in there, it reactivates and moves very freely. Okay. I like that one a lot. Okay, so 2. This next one I'm going to try to do some color mixing and see what we get here. So same thing, it's heat embossed. And I am going to do kind of the same start as the last flower where I'm going to saturate the whole flower with water. And I'm going to try to do some blending here and see how it works out. So we're just putting our base layer of water down. It's soaking into the paper, moistening that paper, and hopefully that'll help our colors blend a little easier. Now for this one, I'm going to start again with that same yellow, which is the gamboge. I'm going to kind of layer that as our first layer. And as it goes out towards the end, it'll lighten up a little bit, which is fine. You'll know when you need to add more water because the colors won't move as freely. So I just re-moisten the brush. Okay, so we have our base color of yellow down. A little bit darker towards the middle, lighter towards the outside. Okay, now I'm going to take some scarlet, which is a bright red, and I'm going to see how that red mixes in. So just cleaning off my brush, going to get my brush pretty loaded with water here, and this is the scarlet, which is a bright, bright red. Woo! Super red. And I'm just going to drop that down in the middle, and we're going to see how this works out here. Might be a hot mess. So I had a rose bush in my yard, and I killed it last year. I'm so mad. And it was called a ketchup mustard rose. And it was, I think it was red on the outside and yellow in the middle, but it was so pretty. And I'm very mad at myself for letting it die. I just didn't plant it in a good area, and I didn't keep an eye on it. So I might have to go back to the nursery this year and see if I can get another one. All right, so now the colors are mixing, but I have the vibrant red in the middle. I have that yellow on the outside. And what's happening is as those colors are mixing, there's kind of a yellow or orange, a deep orange gradient here. So I'm just adding some water and just pulling that out. Wow, that's a beautiful color red. I kind of wish I did the whole thing in red now. So I'm just going to again get some water and just try to help these kind of blend along so that there's not so many harsh lines here in the colors. I hope the camera's picking that up for you guys, how it's blending. Alright, all I'm going to do here to just kind of help this out a little bit is I'm going to go back in with that gamboge, and on the outer petals where we should have some of that shadowing, just grabbing some of that gamboge and just going to deepen up the shadowing there. Very pretty. Alright, now over here I think it's gotten a little washed out. I'm going to take some water and just pull some of that color off of there. It's a little too deep and I'm missing some of the lighter areas here. So all I'm doing is just taking a wet brush, lifting that ink and pushing it onto my paper towel. So I'm getting some of those lighter areas back. Oh, that's really pretty. I really like that one. So that one is mixing because you guys, can you see how they blend? So you have that scarlet bright red there, the gamboge is on the outside, and you can see here how they blended into this orange color. I'm very, very pleasantly surprised with that. I'm going to add a little more scarlet to this. A little bit. Just underneath here. Just to define it. Okay, I think that one's good. I really like that one. That really blended nicely. All right. And then this one, I just wanted to be fun and try out this neon pink. Maybe mix it up with some of that rose color. We'll see. And we're going to go super wet on wet here and just let the colors do whatever they want to do. Very free, very watercolor, quick and easy. Just fully loading this brush up and laying that water down. Super wet here. Like almost too much water here. Okay, then we're going to load the brush up again. We want the brush to be very wet, and we're going into this neon pink color. And see how watery we are making that. And we are just going to let it go. Let it go, let it go. Oh, I just took Leah to see Disney on Ice. Oh, this is super, super hot pink. That is definitely neon pink. But we went to see Disney on Ice Enchantment. And it was so fun, you guys. They had a little skit from Cars. They had a little skit from Frozen, which we saw last year. They had a little skit of, Ariel Under the Sea. And what else was there? I'm just pouncing this color in. This is very free flow. Just trying to stay in the lines here, but we're gonna make this one look very watercolored. What else was at the show? Oh, Cars, Mickey, Minnie, of course, Donald, Pluto, Toy Story, Frozen. I feel like I'm missing one more. But she had a blast. She had a good time. I told her she could not get a light up wand. She picked out light up Mickey Mouse ears instead. All right, so now that this is super wet, I'm going to grab some of that rose and just drop it in there. And again, going to make this super wet. And you can see it blooming and moving along because it's already wet. The paper is doing a good job at wicking that color away. And if it's not wicking enough for you, it's not blooming enough for you, re-wet your brush and get more pigment. And you can see that paint just flows right along. This is probably my least favorite method to do because it's not so controlled. I mean, you're just dropping that paint and letting it do whatever it wants. But the way it looks when it dries is just so pretty. No one can doubt that that's watercoloring. And these colors are really blending nicely. All I'm trying to do is just drop that pigment where I think it should be moving from. Wow, that one's pretty cool too. Man, I can't pick a favorite, guys. So hopefully that gives you guys a better idea about these Arteza paints. And I'm going to let this dry. I do have some green and blue on here. Let me show you what I wanted to do with that. Let me show you a close-up of this one. A little too much right here. Okay, so what I wanted to do, let's go back to this original one we did, which is almost dry. And the reason I grabbed the green and the blue is I wanted to do a little bit of a sky scene. So let's see what we can do here. And we're going to try to do this in small sections, hopefully. Just wetting the background down. And I'm getting close to the flower, but not into the flower. Alright, so I have some ice blue, which is a super light blue, and some of the sky blue, which is a little more medium blue. You can see that ice blue is pretty opaque. So we're taking some of that sky blue. Again, just re-wetting it down. And we'll see. See, I think that's a little too bright. We'll see how this dries. That ice blue is very opaque. It's kind of an ombre. As we move over, it gets a little lighter. As we go down, it gets a little lighter. And then what I wanted to do down here was add a little bit of green, you know, to kind of look like a background, like this is a rose in a bush. So let's see here. Let's see if we can blend some of this out. Oops. Alright, I'm going to add a little tiny bit of this lighter green, which is the sage green. I don't want too dark of a green here. Just kind of outline this flower a little bit. Just blend it into the background here. And then as it fades out over here, blends into the blue, and you don't see that difference in color. Very ombre. All right. Spray that down. I do like that these colors are not super transparent like traditional watercolors. I feel like it's a good compromise between acrylic paints, which are super opaque, and watercolor paints, which are super transparent. These are right in the middle. Good quality there, that you can water them down and make them more like watercolors, or use them straight out of the tube and make them more opaque. I'm going to let this little strip dry and see if we can reconstitute it and use these paints again later, so I will let you know. But I am very, very pleased with these paints, guys. I will link them down below for you. I believe they sent me an affiliate link, so I will link that for you if you're interested in them. And again, if you are a subscriber already and you want to head on over to Nancy Stamps 15 on Facebook and Nancy Stamps 15 on Instagram, it'll give you an extra drawing to win the Arteza Watercolor Premiums Your Own set. And I believe it's a 24 pack to try out for yourself. So this one was the one where we did Naples yellow and then put the Gamboge yellow in there. Very controlled, again, like an acrylic paint. And you can see that it did dry back a little bit. They're not completely translucent. There is a little bit of opacity there, but still very pretty, very nice. This one was the one we did in Gamboge and then mixed the scarlet red in there. And you can see how they blended out beautifully, added that orange in there. Almost like a sunset. I really like that one. This one was the rose. And you can see here how it dried back. It's not as bright as it was before, but as it dried back, where I had that extra pigment, you're not losing that color. It's not drying back so much that I think I need to add a second coat. I think it's very pretty this way. And then this one is the water dropping, which is the neon pink with the rose. And this is probably my favorite, guys, because it does have that natural watercolor look, because I was just very free and just dropped the colors in there. You can see how nicely they blended, and it gave it a very nice watercolor look. So you can comment on which one was your favorite, the neon pink one, the rose one, the Scarlet and Gamboge one, or red and yellow one, or if you want to call it ketchup and mustard rose, or just the yellow one. So yeah, I would definitely recommend these. I appreciate Arteza sending them out to me. If they hadn't sent them out to me, I don't know that I would have tried them, but I'm so glad they did. And I would definitely recommend, if you're looking for a watercolor substitute and you want to try painting some of your stamped images, I'm very impressed. And I think for the price point, just like the rest of Arteza's products, very nice. Very good quality. So there we go, guys. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to post them below. As always, thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below which rows you like the best. What kind of watercolor methods do you like to do? And thanks for watching, and keep on stamping. Bye-bye.